So I'm going to tell you a little story today that encapsulates the shift in mindset that I made around neurodivergence and ultimately what led me to making this my life's work. So this little story relates to my middle child, my dyslexic ADHD. And without repeating what I've said recently over the last couple of days around this very real mismatch that neurodivergent children have to manage in terms of how their brain works and what the education system expects them to do, suffice it to say for now that as a 7-year-old, his confidence had really started to dip. But this story is about how his neurodivergent traits actually came to his rescue and helped me to see neurodivergence differently. So at his school, there is a talent show or variety show which hundreds of parents attend, and it is generally pitched at much older children to take part in. But unbeknown to us, little Bertie went to audition and to play his guitar as a 7-year-old, and he got really encouraging feedback, I gather, but the answer was no. And then again, unbeknown to us, he went to chat to the teacher in charge and persuaded her to let him audition again. Good for him, great experience, but apparently the answer was another no. And I can kind of understand that. He was only 7. It's a lot of pressure to play in front of so many people in this sort of evening event. But again, apparently, unbeknown to us, he went to her another 2 times to persuade her to let him audition again and again. And we didn't know about any of this until he came to tell us that he had got his spot on the talent show. And sure enough, he performed Holiday by Green Day to a cheering crowd of parents. So it was a great success story. But I think what that story really made me realise is that his trait of hyperfocus, realising that something matters to him, and admittedly that hyperfocus does sometimes mean that his focus isn't necessarily on where his teachers might need it to be during the school day, but that hyperfocus gave him the drive to keep going when he had his sights set on something. I think the teacher in charge of the show said that he was like a dog with a bone. But to me, it was like he had, it was like he had an itch to scratch and he couldn't actually stop until he was satisfied. And this, for me, was his ADHD in action. And that was the moment that I saw his neurodivergence differently. It was not something that we needed to lament or worry about for the rest of his education. This was something that we can manage and actually we can channel. And if we channel it correctly, there are some wonderful qualities to uncover with the right support around him. But it does mean letting go a little. It means letting go of what our conditioned ideas are of what success is in the education system, of it just being a clutch of exam grades. And I think it was at that point that I realised that, what's really important is that we teach children and not the curriculum. And we teach children to uncover their skills and their strengths and learn how to harness those rather than fixating on curriculum content. So follow along if you want to be part of my mission to change this narrative of what always seems to be seen to be wrong with neurodivergence to what is very much possible for young neurodivergent minds. And if you've got your own story to share that encapsulates your shift of your understanding of neurodivergence and it shifted your perception of it from being something really, really negative to something much more positive, and you began to see the incredible potential in it if we harness it correctly and understand it correctly, do let me know if you've got your own ND shift story. I'd love to hear it.